Jai everyone and welcome back to Soldier Unplugged. Today we will have our second class of synonyms. Alright. Now synonyms हमने पहले भी एक लेक्चर किया हुआ है and I hope कि आपको अच्छे से समझ में आ गया कि synonyms को अप्रोच कैसे करते हैं. ठीक है. Now to make it more confident ताकि आपको synonyms को एक बार अच्छे से और कॉन्फिडेंटली आ जाए मैंने इसके 3 लेक्चर बनाए. ओके. तो आपका पहला हो चुका है, आपका दूसरा होगा. इसके बाद जो हमारा दूसरा फॉर्मेट है synonyms का हम उसको डिस्कस करेंगे. ओके. Now today we'll be discussing about the first format again and इसके रिगार्डिंग और कुछ क्वेश्चंस सॉल्व करेंगे. ठीक है. ओके. नाउ अगेन हमारा क्वेश्चन क्या है? इन द फॉलोइंग आइटम्स व्हिच ऑफ द गिवन वर्ड्स इज द क्लोजेस्ट मीनिंग टू द वर्ड्स प्रोवाइडेड. है ना. सिनोनिम्स का मतलब वही होता है द वर्ड दैट्स क्लोजर. राइट. सो नथिंग न्यू. राइट. नाउ द फर्स्ट वर्ड वी हैव इज फ्लैग्रेंट. नाउ व्हाट्स द वर्ड? Word is flagrant. Now what does flagrant actually mean? Flagrant means something that's very in negative and उभर के आ रहा है, right, which is very visible and very visible, it's in a wrong sense, right? Now same thing, that's very close to glaring. Now some students will tell, sir, जो glaring है, ये glaring, isn't it something like that's usually shining, that's something that usually is glare? No, right? When we are mentioning glaring, right, that's the reason it's really important to know the meaning of the exact word. Glaring is often used to highlight something negative, right? For example, his error in the balance sheet was glaring, right? So that means that it was easily visible to everyone that the mistake that he has done. Clear? That's the meaning. So understand the meaning and then attempt. Okay. Now the next word we have is mitigate. What does mitigate mean? Mitigate means to, okay, he was mitigated from his problems, or basically nothing but like to get relieved of, right? So obviously it's not bland, obviously not confused, obviously not different. So the correct answer would be relief. Now while attempting synonyms and antonyms especially, you also would realize one thing, that's how important it is to know the meaning of that particular word. Okay. If you do not know the meaning of the word, kindly don't go ahead and attempt that question also, because you know that you have negative marking as well. Okay. So once you only know the meaning of the word, that's when you go ahead and attempt it. Otherwise you straight away just ignore it. Okay. Make sure that you are at least crossing above the marks. And the only way to increase your vocabulary is to by practice and is to by researching, right? Get a list of the words, check their meanings, check, okay, what are the synonyms, what are the antonyms, right? That's the reason after every slide I've given you three, right? So make sure you're practicing those as well. Make sure this is, I think, the 40th lecture of English, right? So from the start, whatever lectures you have got, every lecture you have at least got three words, right? Almost 150 words you would have written in your book as of now, right? Make sure you have taken that note of the synonyms as well as antonyms and are practicing them, right? Just go through them once after, like, I'll just give you an example. For the first time or the second time, or even for, I'd say, the fifth or the sixth time, you would just be so confused that, I mean, okay, what is the meaning? Okay, this might be, this might not, right? But if you keep reading it every day, after a point, it will get registered in your mind, right? Okay, now I know what the synonym of flagrant is, right? It is obviously glaring because you've practiced it, right? Mitigate, okay, something related to getting relieved of, right? Okay, so that's how you're going to be practicing. So make sure you're practicing. English is something that can only be fixed by practicing, and make sure you're not leaving that. Okay, now let's go ahead. Okay, the next word is rail. Now I'm pretty sure that many of your students would be getting confused here. So rail, ये वो पटरी वाला है, where our Indian railways move. No, that's not the rail, right? Rail is nothing but something like if a teacher scolds you, right? The teacher may the teacher started railing the students, or teacher railed the students, right? Rail, not, that means scolding, right? And we have only one. Obviously, it's not punishing, because rail does not mean to punish. It basically means to scold someone or to tell them that they are wrong, basically verbally, right? So it'll be scold, right? So obviously not this, not this, not this, right? We only have one correct option. Okay. Next we have is meld. What does meld basically mean? Meld, that means that the let me think of an example. The artist melded classical and rock. The artist or gave a very nice performance, where he meld classical and rock, right? So what does meld basically mean? To blend, right? So obviously not character, not distinction, not firmness, it is blend. You have the answer? Clear? Now, next let's go to rally. Now, many of you students would be already aware of this word called rally because we have heard bike rallies, car rallies. Now, what that the word exactly rally means? Rally means something that you get together, something where you meet, right? Many people meet, right? Now you know the meaning of rally, but if you see, okay, it obviously would not be demonstrate, okay, because that's not what rally means. It obviously would not be course. It obviously would not mean the word truly, right? This is one way of attempting, right? In case you know the meaning here, but you're not sure the meaning here, right? Now the word muster, very probable to be the answer, and it is the answer. Muster also means where people gather, okay? So this is also one way that you can attempt the question, okay? But if you knew the meaning of muster, you wouldn't have wasted time here. You would have straight away taken muster and would buy some time for your other questions. Clear? Okay, let's go ahead. Okay, now the next word we have is abject. What does abject mean? Abject basically means something that is very extreme, right? Abject, like extreme poverty, right? So we have only one word, which obviously it can, people would be thinking it can be the word extreme here because obviously I meant, right? It's something extreme, right? So it is usually something extremely bad, right? Now, if you knew the meaning of the word deplorable, right, you would have known that, okay, this is the correct answer because the most similar word is this. Okay, this is where you all probably tend to go wrong. Okay, the correct option here is deplorable. Clear? Understand the meaning? It is also something relating to something very bad or extremely bad, right? The the people lived in deplorable conditions. That means extremely bad conditions. Okay. Now, extreme here, but the reason we did not mark here because it can be either extremely good or can be extremely bad, right? But this means the way that we really want to. Closest to the word abject. Clear? Okay. Now, next we have is bespoke. What does bespoke really mean? Bespoke really means like something like if I have had this jacket custom made, right? Now that is something like, probably tailored or handmade or something that made specifically on an order, right? Not normal, it's customized basically, right? So obviously it's not gentle, it's not quiet. You have your answer right here, tailored. Clear? You have your answer right here. So that's the synonym of bespoke. Okay. Next is diffident. Now what does diffident really mean? Some people would know, some people would not. Diffident means something that, okay, she was diffident to speak in public, right? That means she was self-conscious or underconfident and to speak in public, right? Now, which out of these give a clear meaning, right? The clear meaning we have right here is the word shy. Clear? Quite simple to understand? Okay. Now, next we have is the word proffer. What's the word? The word is proffer. Now, what does proffer really mean something? Proffer means something that you're presenting or something that you present to someone, right? For obviously waiting for an approval, right? Or he proffered his resignation in front of the board, right? That's the actual meaning of proffer. Something that he is kept forward to the board. Now, out of this, if you know the meaning, the correct one would be tender. Why? Because you also present a tender and wait for an acceptance, right? So the closest word would be tender. Next we have is modern, right? What does modern mean? Modern mean is something like, you have a very sharp quality to probably, like a sarcastic tone or something in a brutal way, right? Telling something to someone. Criticism, basically, right? Now, the clear cut word here is caustic. Caustic also means like, sarcasm in, having sarcasm, right? Now, next we have is churlish. Now, what does churlish mean? Like behaving in a very rude and, very rude way, basically, right? So, churlish, the straight, we obviously it would not be childish, right? It would not be disorderly, it would not be empty space. Only word would be boorish, right? You can easily remember this. You know, when I first time heard this word, I remember it with the word boo. We boo people who are very rude, right? That's how I learned this word. Okay, so churlish and boorish are synonyms. Clear? All right, now let's go next. Okay, the word is antediluvian. What is the word? Antediluvian. Now, what you can actually understand from antediluvian is something that, you know, it's old-fashioned or outdated, right? When not do not you know, since it's actually a little complicated word, when I learned this, I learned it in a way where, you know, I usually use the word first, like auntie, right? Aunties are usually old-fashioned, right? So that's the reason I had used this, right? Again, my way of learning things, but not necessarily you learn. But again, if you want to learn the same way, then obviously. So antediluvian is something that is outdated or out-fashioned, okay? And the synonym also is antiquated. Wait, antiquated. Okay, give me a minute. Yeah, antiquated. Again, auntie, right? Right? Antiquated. Again, anti basically, I had in mind that, you know, when I was learning through these, that anti something that for old fashioned, right? So antiquated also is used for old fashioned. Clear? Now, next we have is picayune. What is picayune? Picayune is usually like, you know, very small or minimal, right? Now, clear, it's obviously doesn't mean spicy. It obviously doesn't mean southern. It also doesn't mean paltry. It obviously means petty. Yeah, petty expenses, right? Small expenses. This is that word. Okay. Next word we have is smite. Now, what does smite mean? Smite means something like, you know, you're basically striking really hard, you know, on someone's head or something, like something basically striking very hard, right? So obviously it's not flea. Obviously it's not speck. It's obviously not dirt. The correct option would be strike. Okay, striking someone, right? Smiting. Okay. Now, the next word we have is winnow. What's the word? Winnow. Winnow is nothing but, you know, giving importance to the main part and, you know, just disregarding and you're basically discarding the other ways. Now, that also means, obviously, it doesn't mean to carve. Obviously, doesn't mean to wind or wind. Obviously, doesn't mean to carry something. It means weed. Clear? All right. Let's go next. We have the word exploit. Now, we have heard this word, something that not that complicated. Exploit, like making sure that, you know, the person is working to the maximum capacity, usually even, you know, more than that. Exploiting, right? So that's exploit, right? Now, obviously, people consider it utilizing the resources really well, right? So that's your synonym as well. Okay, clear? Next we have is detrimental. What's the word? Detrimental. Now, what does detrimental really mean? Detrimental is something that's harmful, something that is, you know, smoking detriments your health, or smoking is detrimental to your health, right? That's the word. Now, obviously, what? It's harmful to your health. So, we have a synonym right here, harmful. Clear? Quite easy. I mean, some people might not find that easy, but it's okay. Make sure that you are learning the words and the synonyms and checking the exact meaning of these words. Then I think it should be a very easy deal for you. Okay, that's the reason I have been starting with words. So make sure you're practicing those. Okay. Now, next word we have is quite easy. What's the word? Sharp, right? Self-explanatory word. I don't need to explain this word, right? It obviously does not mean it's bleaky. Obviously not bluntly, because it's sharp. Obviously not blonde. Blonde is something else. So the closest word we have is exactly. Okay, exactly to the point, right? Next we have is condemn. Condemn basically means that, you know, against something, right? President condemn the protest, right? So obviously it does not approve, right? If you're against it, you're obviously not praising it. If you're against it, you're obviously not recommending if you're against it, right? So the correct word would be censure. What is it? Censure. Clear? Next we have is reluctant. What's the word? reluctant. Now, reluctant, you know exactly what the meaning of reluctant really is, right? It obviously does not mean anxious, does not mean eager, and obviously does not mean to refuse something, right? It the answer is disinclined, reluctant to do something, or not interested to do something, or disinclined towards it, right? Clear? Self-explanatory. Okay, a bit of a practice, then you would be as good as a Ferrari. Okay, now let's go ahead to the words to learn today. First word, okay, camouflage. What's the word? Camouflage. What's the meaning? To disguise, right? Camouflage something, to disguise is something else, right? Our soldiers also, camouflage themselves when they're in the mountain areas or in the snow areas. They wear the respective terrain dress, right? If they are in a forest area, they wear, the forest kind of clothes so that they're not visible to the enemy. Same thing in snow, they cover themselves completely with full of whites, so it's not easily visible to the enemy, right? To disguise. Synonyms are to hide and conceal, and antonyms are to reveal and show. Clear? Quite simple. Let's go to the next word. Next word we have is canard. What is the word? Canard. What is a canard? A false or report or story. Clear? What does it mean? It means a false or report a story. Okay. What are the synonyms? It is a tale, a story as it says. Antonyms are either it's a truth or a fact. If it's story, obviously it might mean that it's not true. Okay. But the synonym is story, and the antonyms are truth and fact. Clear? Let's go to the next. Next we have is canny. What's the word? Canny. Meaning very clever and able to make intelligent decisions. What does it mean? It means very clever and able to make very intelligent decisions. Okay. Synonyms, as we already said, it was clever and shrewd. And antonyms are uncanny. Basically, canny का opposite, uncanny and daft. Clear? ठीक है? ये daft का अगर मतलब नहीं पता, Google करो, right? Shrewd, I have already covered it before. Check the meaning if you have it in your pages, or get it Google. Clear? Shouldn't be that difficult. Ask Google Baba, why is he there? Okay. So I hope that you have understood how to approach synonyms as of now, right? Moving forward, we'll be just covering the other part or the other format, the way your synonyms are usually coming. Here we had that just one word and you had to tell. The next time, the next format is a little more simpler because it has a complete sentence, and there you'll have a word and you need to align with that word and you need to find synonyms according to that word. Okay. So make sure you're practicing words, right? Synonyms are not that easy. You would have understood right now, right? Bespoke, until unless probably we hadn't discussed today. I'm pretty sure 90% of you wouldn't even know the meaning of bespoke, right? Now, why is that? Because again, it's not that lack of knowledge, because lack of practice. You don't really know, lack of exposure to these words, right? We are not using these words in real life, right? Now, to make sure you need to practice, right? Take the meaning of bespoke. Bespoke means what? Tailor-made, right? I showed my jacket like this. It's a tailor-made something, right? And we have the synonym as tailored, right? So make sure you're practicing your synonyms really, 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 really well. The only reason I mentioned really so many times because that's how much you have to practice if you need to ace your English, especially in synonyms and antonyms, right? Apart from that, English is very easy because you really just need to play. But synonyms and antonyms, if you do not have anything here, you would not be able to attempt. And kindly do not just mark it without even knowing anything. Do not do the guesswork because you have the negative marketing here. Negative marking, I'm so sorry. Okay, correction. So make sure you get good set of questions on these as well, and you're practicing really well to ensure that you ace this session as well. Okay. So students, stay connected. Meet you in the next class. Until then, Jai Hind.